Welcome to Shri Shri Radhakala Chanji Dham. My name is Sucharya Devi Dasi, and I'm sitting here because my dear friend Tulsi Saki Devi Dasi asked me to give class today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timradandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So we're reading today from the Caitanya Caritamrta Madhya Lila chapter 9. And we're starting on text 222. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Text 222, Madhya Lila, chapter 9. Kamtapure asideki, Shri Ram Lakshmana, Shri Vaikunte asi Kaila, Vishnu Darasana. Translation. Later the Lord went to Chamtapura, where he saw the deities of Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman. He then went to Sri Vaikunta and saw the temple of Lord Vishnu there. So the title of this chapter is Lord Chaitanya's Travels to the Holy Places. Purport. This Chamtapura is sometimes called Chenanura, and is located in the state of Tribankura. A temple of Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman is located there. Sri Vaikunta, about 4 miles north of Aloyara, Tirunagari, and 16 miles southeast of Tinibeli, is situated on the bank of the Tamraparni River. So in these descriptions of the different places of Lord Chaitanya's travels, Srila Prabhupada is giving a very distinct description of exactly where they are. This temple is 4 miles north of Aloyara. And how did Srila Prabhupada know all these details? Well, he would always travel with the books, with the commentaries of the previous spiritual masters, and many of them would give detailed descriptions. So Prabhupada would take from them. Prabhupada also went to these places himself. He also spoke to local residents. So he's giving us this nectar. So when we go to India, we know exactly what places to visit. Text 223. Malaya Parvate Kaila Agastya Vandana Kanya Kumari Tanhan Kaila Darshana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to Malaya Parvata and offered prayers to Agastya Muni. He then visited a place known as Kanya Kumari, presently Cape Comorin. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The range of mountains in South India, beginning at Kerala and extending up to Cape Comorin, is called Malaya Parvata. Concerning Agastya, there are 4 opinions. 1, there is a temple of Agastya Muni in the village of Agastyam Pali, in the district of Tanjore. 2, There is a temple of Lord Skanda on a hill known as Sivangiri, and it is supposed to have been established by Agastya Muni. 3. Some say that near Cape Comorin there is a hill known as Patiya, which was supposed to have served as Agastya Muni's residence. 4. There is another place known as Agastya Malaya, which is a range of hills on both sides of the Tamrapani River. Cape Comorin itself is known as Kanyakumari. So here Srila Prabhupada is mentioning the great sage Agastya Muni, and you can read further information about him in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a vedabase.com, and you can put in a title, you can put in Agastya Muni, and all this information will come up about him. He's one of the Shapta Rishis, and he is also known as the incarnation of the mind, because he's expert in mind control, sense control. Text 224. Amit talaya deki Shri Ram Gaurahari Malara deshite Aila yata bata hari. Translation. After visiting Kanyakumari, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to Amalitala, where he saw the deity of Sri Ramachandra. Thereafter he went to a place known as Malara Desha, where a community of Bhattaharis lived. Purport. North of Malara Desha is South Kannada. To the east is Kurga and Mahisura. To the south is Kochina, and to the west is the Arabian Sea. As far as the Bhattaharis are concerned, they are a nomadic community. They camp wherever they like and have no fixed place of residence. Outwardly, they take up the dress of sannyasis, but their real business is stealing and cheating. They allure others to supply women for their camp, and they cheat many women and keep them within their community. In this way, they increase their population. In Bengal also, there is a similar community. Actually, all over the world, there are nomadic communities whose business is simply to allure, cheat, and steal innocent women. Text 225. Tamala Kartika Deki Ailavetapani Raghunath Deki Tahan Vanchila Rajani. Translation. After visiting Malara Desha, Haribo, boys. After visiting Malara Desha, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Tamala Kartika and then to Vetapani. There he saw the temple of Raghunath and Lord Ramachandra and passed the night. Purport. Tamala Kartika is 44 miles south of Tinibelhi and 2 miles south of the Aramavali mountain. It is located within the jurisdiction of Tobala. There is situated a temple of Subramanya, or Lord Kartika, the son of Lord Shiva. Vetapani, or Vatapani, is north of Kaila in the Tribankura state. It is known also as Bhutapandi and is within the jurisdiction of the Tobala district. It is understood that formerly there was a deity of Lord Ramachandra there. Later, the deity was replaced with the deity of Lord Shiva, known as Rameshwar or Bhutanath. Text 226. Gosanira Sange Rahe Krishna Das Brahmana Bhattahari Sahatahan Haila Darshana. Translation. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was accompanied by his servant called Krishna Das. He was a Brahmana, but he met with the Bhattaharis there. Sridhana Dekhana Tanra Loba Janmala Arya Sarala Viprera Buddhi Nasakaila. Translation. The Bhattaharis allured the Brahmana Krishna Das, who was simple and gentle. By virtue of their bad association, they polluted his intelligence. Text 228. Prate uti aila vipra bhattahari gare tahara udeshe prabhu aila satvare. The allured Krishnadas went to their place early in the morning just to find him out. The Lord also went there very quickly. Text 229. Asiya kahena sababhatahari gane amara brahmana tumira kaki karane. Upon reaching their community, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu asked the Bhattaharis. So this is Lord Chaitanya personally speaking. Why are you keeping my Brahmana assistant? Text 230. Amiha sannyasi deka tumiha sannyasi more dukha deha tomara nyaha nahivasi. Translation. And again, this is Lord Chaitanya's voice. I am in the renounced order of life, and so are you. Yet you are purposefully giving me pain, and I do not see any good logic in this. Vaishnav, would you like to say that again, Lord Chaitanya's words? Could you say that in a loud, booming voice? Thank you very much. Sunasaba Bhattahari Ute Astralana Manbare Aila Sabe Chari Dike Danha. Translation. Upon hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Bhattaharis came running with weapons in their hands, desiring to hurt the Lord. Tara Astra Tara Ange Pade Hata Haite Kanda Kanda Haila Bhattahari Kalaya Chabite. However, their weapons fell from their hands and struck their own bodies. When some of the Bhattaharis were thus cut to pieces, the others ran away in the four directions. Bhattahari Gare Maha Utila Pradana Keshe Dari Vipre Lana Karila Gamana. Well, there was much roaring and crying at the Bhattahari community. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu grabbed Krishnadas by the hair and took him away. Sedina tali aila payasvini tire sanakari gela adikeshava mandire. Translation. That very night, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his assistant Krishnadas arrived at the bank of the Payasvini River. They took their bath and then went to see the temple of Adi Keshava. So Payasvini River, Srila Prabhupada has a disciple named Payasvini, and she passed away. But she was always serving in so many ways, and she was always eager to please Srila Prabhupada. So Payasvini Devi Dasi is the name of a great river. Keshava Dekiya Preme Avishtahaila Nati stuti nritya gita bahuta karila. Translation. When the Lord saw the Adikeshava temple, he was immediately overwhelmed with ecstasy. Offering various obeisances and prayers, he chanted and danced. Prema deki loke haila maha chamartkara sarva loka kaila prabhuvera parama satkara. Translation. All the people there were greatly astonished to see the ecstatic pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. They all received the Lord very well. Mahabhakta Gana Saha Tahan Gosti Kaila Brahma Samhitanadhyaya Punti Tahan Paila. Translation. In the temple of Adikeshava, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu discussed spiritual matters among highly advanced devotees. While there, he found a chapter of the Brahma Samhita. So Srila Prabhupada has a disciple called Adikeshava. And Adikeshava was the president in New York, I guess around 1975, 76. And he's a very great devotee. He did so much service for Prabhupada, and he continues to do service. So all glories to the disciples of Srila Prabhupada who love to serve him. Puntipana Prabhuera Haila Ananda Apara Kampasru Sveda Stamba Pulaka Vikara. Translation. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was greatly happy to find a chapter of that scripture, and symptoms of ecstatic transformation, trembling, tears, perspiration, trance, and jubilation were manifest in his body. So what did Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu find? A book. What book? Do you remember the name of the book? Brahma Samhita. Very good. So we're going to sing this verse together because we're going to stop here. So I'll read it first and then we'll read it again together. Siddhanta Shastra Nahi Brahma Samhitara Sama Govinda Mahima Janera Parama Karana Al Sare Kahe Siddhanta Apara Sakala Vaishnava Shastra Majye Atisara. Vaishnav, do you want to sing? Want to sing the verse? It's number 230, 239, 240. You can do the next one too. Anyone else have this verse on their phone they would like to sing? Very nice. Anyone else? Ladies? Any more ladies would like to sing? Synonyms. Siddhanta Shastra. Conclusive scripture. Nahi, there is not. Brahma Samitara. Sama, like the scripture Brahma Samhita. Govinda Mahima, of the glories of Lord Govinda. Janera, of knowledge. Parama, final. Karana, cause. Alpa Akshare, briefly. Kahe, expresses. Siddhanta, conclusion. Apara, unlimited. Sakala, all. Vaishnava Shastra, devotional scriptures. Majje, among. Atisara, very essential. There is no scripture equal to the Brahma Samhita as far as the final spiritual conclusion is concerned. Indeed, that scripture is the supreme revelation of the glories of Lord Govinda, for it reveals the topmost knowledge about him. Since all conclusions are briefly presented in Brahma Samhita, it is essential among all the Vaishnava literatures. So please repeat. There is no scripture equal to the Brahma Samhita as far as the final spiritual conclusion is concerned. Indeed, that scripture is the supreme revelation of the glories of Lord Govinda, for it reveals the topmost knowledge about him. Since all conclusions are briefly presented in Brahma Samhita, it is essential among all the Vaishnava literatures. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The Brahma Samhita is a very important scripture. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu acquired the 5th chapter from the Adi Keshava temple. In that 5th chapter, the philosophical conclusion of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference, is presented. The chapter also presents methods of devotional service, the 18-syllable Vedic hymn, discourses on the soul, the supersoul, and fruit of activity, an explanation of Kama Gayatri, Kama Bija, and the original Mahavishnu, and a specific description of the spiritual world, specifically Goloka Vrindavan. Brahma Samhita also explains the demigod Ganesh, the Garbhodakshai Vishnu, the origin of the Gayatri mantra, the form of Govinda, and his transcendental position and abode, the living entities, the highest goal, the goddess Durga, the meaning of austerity, the 5 gross elements, love of Godhead, impersonal Brahman, the initiation of Lord Brahma, and the vision of transcendental love, enabling one to see the Lord. The steps of devotional service are also explained. The mind, Yoga Nidra, the goddess of fortune, devotional service in spontaneous ecstasy, incarnations beginning with Lord Ramchandra, deities, the conditioned soul and its duties, the truth about Lord Vishnu, prayers, Vedic hymns, Lord Shiva, Vedic literature, personalism and impersonalism, good behavior, and many other subjects are also discussed. There is also a description of the sun and the universal forms of the Lord. All these subjects are conclusively explained in a nutshell in this Brahma Samhita. So I'll try to speak a little bit about this verse and Prabhupada's incredible purport. So he has named so many items within devotional service. And he is expressing to us that there's no scripture equal to the Brahma Samhita as far as the spiritual conclusion is concerned, because it explains the glories and revelation of Lord Govinda, and it reveals so much topmost knowledge about him, and that many conclusions are briefly presented in the Brahma Samhita. So this is an essential Vaishnava literature. So Brahma's initiation is mentioned here. And of course, we have heard that Lord Brahma appeared on a lotus flower that came, the stem and a lotus flower that came from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And we've heard this, and some people don't believe it. They think, who is Garbhodakshai Vishnu? And there's a lotus flower coming from his navel, and Lord Brahma, who's the creator of this universe. Wow. But it's all true. And when Srila Prabhupada in 1973, Srila Prabhupada was visiting in New York, and we were all living in Toronto. And several of the devotees visited Prabhupada in New York. And so they were asking him questions about Lord Brahma. And they were asking, what's our relationship? So Prabhupada looked at the devotees and he said, at one time we were all Lord Brahma. And the devotees were like, what? And Prabhupada explained that we have been in this creation for millions and millions of years, billions of years. And each of us has had a chance to be Lord Brahma, coming from the navel, Lord Vishnu. So the devotees came back from New York, and they said the first thing they said when they came in the door was, Prabhupada said we used to be Lord Brahma, each of us. We've had so many forms in this material world, and we're just taking birth and death over and over and over. And I remember one of the first times that I met Srila Prabhupada, it was in Detroit, Michigan. And we were all very young, in our teens and early 20s. So we greeted Prabhupada at the airport, and then back at the temple we had the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And I remember very distinctly watching Srila Prabhupada and his whole demeanor, his mood. And he was very serious, and he was very appreciative of all these disciples who were showing up to serve him and take initiation from him. And so it was a beautiful sunny day. We were young and healthy and thinking that the world was ours to enjoy, something like that. And Prabhupada started talking about Garbhodakshai Vishnu and Lord Brahma, and how we have been taking birth for unlimited times. And it was kind of like he burst a bubble, because we were all thinking that life was going to be happy and we were going to enjoy ourselves, which of course, he wants us to be happy, of course. But the bubble of our illusory conceptions of life were being smashed one after the other, as Prabhupada, informed us that we've been around for a very, very long time. And so I was very grateful to be given the absolute truth, to be given the knowledge of who we are, what we have to do and get the heck out of here. Because Prabhupada's vision, in fact, I saw tears in his eyes, we all saw tears in his eyes, as he looked at us, knowing how many lifetimes we've lived. And Srila Prabhupada giving us his causeless mercy, and with tears in his eyes saying, take this transcendental knowledge, come back home, back to Godhead. I've come here to save you. And so we got real serious real fast. And there was an initiation that took place in this particular visit to Detroit. It was 1971, and devotees from all around the United States had come to take initiation from Prabhupada. In fact, in the Toronto temple, there was about 10 devotees who got initiation. I was pretty new. I was like 4 months a devotee. Well, 4 months in the practice. And so Srila Prabhupada, there was an arena set up, and the devotees started coming in, taking initiation. And then one devotee came in with no shirt, no tilak, no neck beads. Prabhupada looked at him and said, "Get out. I will not initiate a person with no neck beads and no shirt and no tilak." And he looked at the temple president and he said, "Why are you not instructing these new devotees?" So the devotee took off, and the temple president took him upstairs and, got him all ready with tilak and neck beads and everything. So then the devotees from Toronto started taking initiation, and then Prabhupada named them. And they were all unique, individual, seemingly unrelated names. One devotee was Uttama Shloka, Vishvakarma, Rochan, Swana. So Swana was taking initiation. She was the wife of Rochan Prabhu. And so she asked me to take care of her child. So I had her little 2-year-old on my back in a backpack, minding her while she was taking initiation. So she went up to Srila Prabhupada, and Swana is a very shy person, soft-spoken, shy. She went up to Srila Prabhupada, and she said the principles. She said she would chant 16 rounds, and then she reached for her beads, and Prabhupada handed her the beads, but she didn't let go. She kept holding the beads, and Prabhupada looked at her kind of like, so then she went closer, and still holding on to her beads, she said, "Srila Prabhupada, can I please have a name for my daughter?" So I stood up and I turned around and I pointed to Prabhupada, there's the daughter, point. So Prabhupada looked up, didn't miss a beat. He looked at the child, he said, "Bhakti Mati." Just like that. Bhakti Mati. So she was 2. Her name used to be Sky, but Prabhupada named her Bhakti Mati. So then that child, at the age of 12, she garlanded. She was dressed up like Krishna. They were having a Janmashtami. And at the time, Margaret Thatcher was the in-charge person, I guess the prime minister. And so Bhakti Mati gave a garland from Krishna, from, Radha Gokulananda, to Margaret Thatcher, who was the in charge in the British Parliament. So in a moment's glance, the spiritual master knows the disciple. He knows the characteristics. He simply glanced at this child and just gave her this beautiful name. And so also at that initiation, Prabhupada talked about the offenses to avoid while chanting Hare Krishna. And he systematically presented each offense to avoid. And we were like hanging on every word. We really wanted to know more and more and more. So Srila Prabhupada speaking about Lord Brahma, and you can read about Lord Brahma in the 2nd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are many descriptions about him. And it's the second canto, chapter 9. And very instructive, very satisfying, very rewarding to hear all these details about Lord Brahma, how he took initiation from Krishna, how Krishna instructed him very minutely in every detail, and how important this. And then from this initiation, he was actually initiated in the heart as a disciple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so again, that's in the chapter 9 of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. But you can read more information, and it'll also explain more about this purport. So when you have a chance, Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 2, chapter 9, and so many instructions by Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is so important because he's the leader of the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, and he's a spiritual master in our disciplic succession. And we are initiated into the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. And so the more we learn, the more we can understand and develop our love for Krishna. I'm going to read a few more verses. We have a few more minutes. Text 241. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu copied the Brahma Samhita, and afterwards, with great pleasure, went to a place known as Ananta Padmanabha. Purport. Concerning Ananta Padmanabha, one should refer to Majja Lila, chapter 1, text 115. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally copied the Brahma Samhita. And what did he use? He didn't have a ballpoint pen, but he did have a feather and ink. And he wrote it in his beautiful handwriting. He wrote the whole chapter 5 of the Brahma Samhita that he found at the Adikeshava temple. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained for 2 or 3 days at Ananta Padmanabha and visited the temple there. Then, with great ecstasy, he went to see the temple of Sri Janardhan. Purport. The temple of Sri Janardhan is situated 26 miles north of Trivandrum, near the Varkala railway station. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced at Sri Janardhan for 2 days. He then went to the bank of the Payasvini River and visited the temple of Shankara Narayana. In the previous verse in the translation, Prabhupada mentions the word Karana, and he has a disciple named Karana, servant of the cause of all causes. So Karana was a major book distributor. She built Mayapur along with all the other devotees. They collected and they would give all the Lakshmi for the building of Prabhupada's temples, for more book distribution, for publishing. So we honor Karna Devi. There he saw the monastery known as Sringeri Mat, the abode of Acharya Sankara. He then visited Matsya Tirtha, a place of pilgrimage, and took a bath in the river Tungabhadra. Purport. The monastery known as Sringeri Mat is situated in the province of Mysore, in the district of Simoga. This monastery is located on the left bank of the river Tungabhadra, 7 miles south of Hariharapura. The real name of this place is Sringagiri or Sringaverapuri, and it is the headquarters of Sankacharya. Sankacharya had 4 principal disciples, and he established 4 centers under their management. In North India, at Badarikshram, the monastery named Jyotir Math was established. At Purushottam, the Bhogavardhana, or Govardhan Monastery, was established in Dwarka. The Sharda Monastery was established, and the 4th monastery established in South India is known as Sringeri Math. In the Sringeri Math, the sannyasis assume the designations Saraswati Bharati and Puri. They are all Ekadandi sannyasis, distinguished from the Vaishnav sannyasis, who are known as Tridandi sannyasis. The Sringeri Math is situated in South India, in a portion of the country known as Andhra, Dravida, Karnataka, and Kerala. The community is called Buvirbara, and the dynasty is called Burbuva. The place is called Rameshwar, and the slogan is Aham Brahmasmi. The deity is Lord Varaha, and the energetic power is Kamakshi. The Acharya is Hastamalaka, and the Brahmachari assistants of the sannyasis are known as Caitanya. The place of pilgrimage is called Tungabhadra, and the subject for Vedic study is the Yajurveda. So there's a very lengthy purport, and full of so much information. It gives there's a list Prabhupada gives of the disciplic succession from Sankacharya, and the names of the acharyas and the dates. And then he explains that Sankaracharya is understood that he was born in the year 608 of the Shakabda era in the month of Vaishakha, on the 3rd day of the waxing moon, in a place in South India known as Kaladi. His father's name was Shiva Guru, and he lost his father at an early age. When Sankaracharya was only 8 years old, he completed his study of all scriptures and took sannyas from Govinda, who was residing on the banks of the Narmada River. After accepting sannyas, Sankaracharya stayed with his spiritual master for some days. He then took his permission to go to Varanasi, and from there he went to Badarikshram, where he stayed until his 12th year. While there, he wrote a commentary on Brahma Sutra, as well as 10 Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. He also wrote Sanat Sujatiya and Nishinga Tapani. Among his many disciples, his 4 chief disciples are Padma Pada, Sureshwar, Hastamalaka, and Trotaka. After departing from Varanasi, Sankaracharya went to Prayag, where he met a great learned scholar called Kumarila Bhatta. Sankaracharya wanted to discuss the authority of the scriptures, but Kumarila Bhatta, being on his deathbed, sent him to his disciple Madana. So I wanted to tell a brief story about Srila Prabhupada's visit to Dallas in 1974. In this temple room, Prabhupada's Vyasa Sun was at the back of the temple, and it used to be a basketball court, and the whole side where Prabhupada is sitting was all windows, top to bottom windows, clear glass. You could see the park outside. There were also a few houses out there, but they were taken down. So Srila Prabhupada was here. You may have heard this story, I don't know, but Srila Prabhupada was here giving the class, and he was sitting at the back, and the devotees had stayed up all night making him a Vyasasana, and it was of cinder blocks. And the cinder blocks were painted green, like a bright green. So there's Prabhupada on his cinder block Vyasasana with some soft cushions, and all the devotees, the children, the parents, the teachers were all gathered in the temple room. And Radha Kalachandji were here. And so Prabhupada was giving the class, and it was very quiet. Everyone was listening. And then all of a sudden, Dwarkanath and Krishna Priya's little boy, his name was Uddhava, started crying, like screaming. And everything stopped. Prabhupada stopped the class. All you could hear was this child screaming. So his mother stood up and rushed out to the hallway and started walking down Kalachandji's long hallway with the screams echoing all over the universe, it seemed. And so Prabhupada stopped for like several minutes. And then Prabhupada said in a very soft voice, he said, "Who is that?" And the devotee said, "Prabhupada, it's Uddhava. He's the son of Dwarkanath and Krishna Priya." And Prabhupada, in another few, I guess seconds, he said in a very soft voice, "He should never have to take birth again." And that child, at age 12, was with his parents in California. And they were on a camping trip with the Gurukula kids. And they were climbing up a small mountain, but it had rocks everywhere. All of a sudden, there was a rock slide. The rocks were crashing down this mountain. And so the father grabbed his son and tried to pull him out of the way, but it was too late. The child, before he could get him out of the way, the child was hit by a huge boulder and immediately died on the spot. And so Prabhupada knew this child. He knew he was going to, leave his body at 12, and he didn't want him to take birth again, ever. So Prabhupada was really compassionate, kind. His compassion was unlimited. And I'll tell you one more story quickly, then I have to go. I have to meet a person today. She's a very sweet devotee. I saved her some sandesh. So I'll tell you one other quick story. So I was living in Montreal, Canada, in the temple, and it was 1972. And there was a devotee there. Her name was Vishnu Murti Devi Dasi. And I thought, wow, she has such a great name. I wanted to name with Vishnu or Krishna. And although in this previous purport, Prabhupada mentions good behavior in the descriptions of Lord Brahma and all that Krishna taught him, he taught him good behavior. And that's what my name means. It's a name for Sri Radha, and it means the servant of the one with good behavior, who pleases Krishna. So Radha pleases Krishna in every way. All right, so back to Montreal, Canada. So Vishnu Murti was, she was young. She was like early 20s. And she was doing temple service, very quiet, humble, shy. And so we stayed together in the same room. And she said to me one day, she said, she was French-Canadian, very strong accent. And she said, "Oh, I wrote Prabhupada. I don't know what he's going to say. I asked him some heavy question." I said, "Well, what did you ask him?" She said, "I want to be a CEO. I want to be a business person. I want to go and stay with my parents and get the rest of my education and, be in corporate Canada, I guess. And so she said, I asked him if he would release me from my vows. She said, I took initiation, the 4 regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds a day. And she said, Prabhupada's going to be so mad at me. And so then the letter came, the reply from Srila Prabhupada came. And she opened the letter. We sat down and I looked at her and she opened the letter. And then she said, she read the letter. Then she passed it to me. And Prabhupada said, my dear Vishnumurti, my dear daughter, please accept my blessings. I have received your letter and I have noted the contents carefully. Yes, I release you from your vows. This is how compassionate Srila Prabhupada is that a young devotee was wanting to go out in the material world and Prabhupada said, yes, I release you. She was thinking he was going to chastise her and tell her how bad she was, but no. He said, but always know that you can come back. You are always welcome. And so that's a sample of the compassionate nature of Prabhupada. He was compassionate to Uddhava when he saw him screaming, and then he's compassionate to Vishnumurti when he saw her feeling so badly that she asked to be released from her vows. So she did later come back, and it's a happy ending. And then, so that's everything. Thank you very much. If you can make a comment, or I don't have time to answer a question, but just a quick comment or anything. Vaishnav, anything to say? How old are you? 9? Well, you'll be giving classes pretty soon, right? Thank you, Hare Krishna. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very nice. So Tulsi Saki was saying that she really appreciated hearing about the Brahma Samhita and how important it is, and how Vaisheshika Prabhu makes a point to chant the Brahma Samhita before every yagya. And there's a funny story about Vaisheshika Prabhu and the singing the Brahma Samhita. So this is what I heard, secondhand. But he and his wife were traveling to Hawaii, and they were in first class somehow. Their tickets were paid for, and so they had a talent show on the airplane. And so Vaisheshika got up and he chanted the whole Brahma Samhita to the whole airplane. And everyone loved it. They thought it was great that he was singing this far out song that was from Sanskrit. So he won first prize. And also Vaisheshika Prabhu, when we lived in, Madeira and I lived in New York temple. And every morning after Mangalarti, when the pujaris would go on the altar, Vaisheshika Prabhu and his buddies would go on the altar and chant the Brahma Samhita for the deities every day. And we would wait for it. We'd listen, and my daughter would say, "What are they singing?" I said, "Brahma Samhita." "Okay, I want to learn it." And she knows the Brahma Samhita. She's very good at Sanskrit. So thank you. Yep. Haribol.